know you're really a big, huge blogger out there, a lot of engagement on Twitter, and also a lot of laurels in your name actually. Let me just mention a few in case if folks are new, they don't know about you. So hello everybody who is logging in, and I think many more people might log in as we get into the conversation. There's a questions tab at the bottom where you guys can ask any questions to Lauren in between or probably towards the end. That'll be fine too. Uh, Laurel Robbins she's a professional travel blogger, and she goes by the blog name Monkeys and Mountains. She has won many awards actually as a travel blogger, and that'll be probably an interesting topic too to talk about how exactly your career built up, and you got so many accolades. But to name a few, Travel Blogger of the Year award in 2013 by Travel Writers Association, and many other accolades like top 20 adventure travel bloggers to watch, and 17 inspiring women travelers on Twitter. We are very fortunate to have you on board. Given the accolades that you have got over there, Laurel. Um, in addition, I know that you also write articles for BBC, Yahoo. You're one of the regular contributors for Yahoo Tumblr, and worked with over 100 plus tourism boards. In fact, yesterday we had an interesting topic by Megan in exactly the same topic. And I'm sure if you gave your version, that'll be a whole another picture. Uh, Probably another topic, maybe. And and spoken at many international blogging conferences like WTM London, Dubai, TBEX, TBC Asia. Right now, we are in Germany, situated in Munich, Germany. And okay, today's topic is very interesting and something that I would make notes as well. Advanced Twitter techniques that can help us increase followers, very important, organic followers, engaging followers, and also to increase the outreach. It's a question that a lot of bloggers themselves, when they are growing, they have. One of the reasons why they have partnered with us is hopefully we can double or triple their following, the influencer bloggers. But these techniques independently can help them too. So with that, Laurel, I'll open the table for you and go ahead and educate us on this very important topic. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the very kind introduction, Scree. And I'm very excited to be working for TripWeasel. And I think this topic is perfect timing because TripWeasel has just launched their social media campaign today. If you don't have a pen and paper already, I highly recommend getting one because hopefully you're going to have lots of good takeaways for you. I personally love Twitter. I have 69,000 followers on Twitter. I co-own the largest adventure travel chat on Twitter, ADV travel chat. But I know a lot of people hate Twitter. Maybe next to Google Plus is probably one of the most despised social media platforms out there. And I think it's because people just don't use it the right way. And if you don't use it the right way, it's quite overwhelming. So hopefully at the end of this, you're going to love Twitter and be able to make it work for you.
Awesome.
So the first thing you need to do is what is your goal from being on Twitter? And it sounds like a really obvious question, but so many people I talk to when I ask them this, they're like, well, I have to be on it. I'm a blogger. I own a travel business. I need to be on Twitter. But when I say, what are you trying to do from Twitter? I don't know. So if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish from Twitter, that's probably why you're frustrated. And a little bit later on, we're going to talk about how you can define your goals and some of the things you can accomplish on Twitter. And so I like to say, if Twitter isn't working for you, it's not Twitter, it's you. So I just say that joking, but it's probably the way that you're using Twitter because Twitter can do a lot of really great stuff for you. So a couple advanced features that most bloggers aren't using and most small businesses aren't using, but I highly recommend, is pinned tweets. This one you will love because it will take you less than 30 seconds to implement it. So what a pinned tweet is, it's the first tweet that's going to show up in your Twitter profile here, and you can see pinned tweet. And has anybody using pinned tweets? You can just put it in. Do we have the chat box enabled, Screen, so I can see?
The questions tab. If you click on the questions, generally people pop in or there with questions. I don't see. If any of you guys. For Laurel's question, she asked if any of you are aware of pinned tweets. If you are aware of it, can you just somebody said yes.
Okay, great. I can't see the answer, so I'll trust you to let me know what people are saying.
I'll read it for you. No worries. Everybody says yes.
Great. Okay, excellent. So that's great that people know about pinned tweets, but I find a lot of people aren't using them. And the reason you want to use them is you want to make sure that when somebody's coming to your profile for the first time, that they're seeing your content, not a retweet of somebody else's content. So it's really important. And if you include 1 to 2 hashtags, it's really going to help increase your engagement and outreach. So you'll find you get a lot more visibility for that. And to do that, all you need to do is at the bottom here is click pin to your profile page. Voila, you have a tweet. You already have a pinned tweet. So you can do that with an existing tweet. Or it's also a really great idea to create a new tweet that tells people why they should follow you, why they might want to check out your website. And you definitely want to include a photo and a link to your blog. Okay, the next thing that I think a lot of people don't know about is Twitter cards. Does anybody using Twitter cards? If you can just put it in the chat box. And Scree, if you can just let me know.
No is the answer.
Okay.
Yes. We have a no, we have a yes.
Okay. So it seems to be about half and half then. Twitter cards are great. Now this is going to probably take you 5-10 minutes to implement. What it is basically an extended business card. So at the end of your tweet, you can see the first tweet I have here. And then you can see, I've got it set up so that you can see a little bit more information about my blog, and there's a link to my blog also. So it just gives you more attention and takes up a little bit more space in the Twitterverse, which is really important because as we know, tweets go so fast. It's really hard to keep up, so you want to take up as much space as possible and convince people that they should check you out. So the benefit of using a Twitter card, as I mentioned, is it takes up more space. It can also lead to a higher click-through rate. And I'm not going to get into how to do it here, but like I said, it'll take you 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're interested in setting up a Twitter card, this is the website that you'd want to go to do that. Okay, so getting the most from your tweets. So now you've got your Twitter card, you've got your pinned tweet. Couple things that you want to do. So you want to find out what's working for you, what your followers want. And sometimes we think we know what our followers want, but in reality it's quite different. So there's a couple ways you can do that. I love Twitter analytics. I think it's amazing. I hope that you are checking your Twitter analytics at least every week. If not, start checking your Twitter analytics at least once a week. So what you can see here is you're looking for tweets. These were the latest tweets. This one's a little bit old. But you can see the impressions, the engagement, and the engagement rate. And so what you want to do is obviously the one with the photo here, the second one, has a lot more impressions. It has over three times the engagement rate. So I want to be looking for trends and say what tweets are getting the highest engagement, what are getting the most impressions, and I want to do more of that. So basically, you can probably, it doesn't surprise you that the second one is doing much better. With the photo, it's much better than the first one, which is not so exciting. The other website you can go to, which I love, is called mytoptweet.com. It's a free website, and it analyzes your last 3,200 tweets, and it's going to show you your 10 most popular tweets. And this is really good because you're going to see what those tweets have in common, and usually there's a lot of commonalities. So, for example, mine are all photos. Here's 3 of my most popular ones here. A lot of pictures with nature as well, with mountains, which makes sense because my blog is Monkeys and Mountains. So that's what my followers want. And it might be intuitive, but sometimes it's not. For the longest time, my top tweet was a retweet that I had done of the Dalai Lama, which was great, but that's not so good for me. But it was interesting to see that my followers were so interested in what the Dalai Lama had to say. So we all know photos perform better than text-only tweets. But how much better do you think that they perform? You can just put it in your chat box.
Answer, let's see.
How much better?
80, 90,
okay.
80%, 90%.
Okay, really, really good guesses. It's actually 150% more.
Okay.
So this is why I think 99% of your tweets should have a photo, because 150% more, and it doesn't take you any more time to put in a photo than to put in text. And for 150% return on investment, that's worth an extra 2-3 seconds of your time.
Awesome.
In addition to more retweets, they get 89% more favorites and 18% more clicks. And that's one of the things people complain about, that Twitter is not great for traffic. And I agree, it's not the best social media platform if you're trying to drive traffic. It has a lot of other useful benefits. But this is one way. By including a photo, you can increase your traffic by 18%. Another thing I see a lot of bloggers doing, and I get it because we're all really, really busy, is you share from Instagram. So your post from Instagram goes directly into Twitter. But you don't want to do that because again, you're going to be reducing your retweets by 150%. So take the extra step and upload the photo directly so that you get that higher engagement. The other thing you can do is you can create an if this, then that recipe so that automatically anything you share on Instagram will go to Twitter. The problem with that, though, is it's not going to measure the 140 characters, and so you can end up with a message that's half cut off. So I personally take the extra step. It's only going to take you an extra minute, because for that 150% more engagement, it's worth taking an extra 2 minutes to do it. Okay, so this is not what you want to do. This is an example of a really bad tweet. As soon as I posted that, I deleted that. So you do not want to do that. This is what you want to do. And you can see this one had 10 retweets, and that was within a matter of about an hour or so that it did that. The other thing that you're going to want to do, we're going to talk about that in a second, is hashtags. And you can see in this tweet is that you put the hashtags at the end, and you want to put, if your goal is to get people to click, put it somewhere in the middle or somewhere in the beginning or somewhere like over here near the front of the tweet. Don't put it near the end if you want people to tweet. And never use more than 2 hashtags. And we're going to get into that in a minute and explain why. So I've already answered this question for you. I got ahead of myself. The optimal number of hashtags to include in a tweet, it's 1 to 2. If you use 1 to 2 hashtags, you're going to get twice the engagement as tweets without hashtags. And if you use 3 or more, it's going to be a 17% drop in engagement. So I go back to this. This is not fun to read. It just looks spammy. Nobody wants to be spammed, even if that was good content. So how do you choose a hashtag? And that's, I think, something that we all go, well, we use travel. We do different things. But what do you think is the number 1 hashtag related to travel? If you can just put it in the chat box.
TTOT.
Travel is number 2. Sorry, TTOT. Yeah, that's a good one. Any other guesses?
Hashtag LP.
Okay, yeah, for Lonely Planet. Also a great one. Great
Travel
choices.
Tuesday.
But the top one is photography, which I think is quite interesting because we think so TTOT has a popularity of 64.5, photography has a popularity of 78.3. And so this is why I love this website, hashtagify.me. It's free. So you can put in travel. You can put in different things that you're looking forward to see. I use nature a lot because I have an adventure blog. So that makes more sense for me to use nature on some of my tweets than it would be for me to use TTOT. That's not to say I can't, but I want to vary it as well. This website is also a really great place to find influencers. So, for example, Christmas markets. I absolutely love Christmas markets. And so if you want to interact with people that are influential at Christmas markets, you can do that from this website. And you can see people here. Myself is on here, and then I know Jeff also is another blogger. So a really great way. So if you have a project or somebody you want to collaborate with on a certain topic, this website will tell you who the influencers are so that you can approach them and start interacting with those influencers as well. Okay, building strategic connections on Twitter. This is why I love Twitter. I think Twitter is incredible for building relationships. I'm the BBC localite from Unit for BBC Travel, and they found me on Twitter, which I think is amazing. Because, yes, they can find me on my blog, but it's much easier to find somebody on Twitter than it is to find in a Google search, depending what they're looking for. So this is I think the power of Twitter. You can connect with people around a common interest that you would never be able to find otherwise. And so to connect with them, don't just retweet. If you're retweeting somebody like BBC Travel, The Lonely Planet, I'm sure they appreciate it, but they get hundreds of retweets, probably thousands sometimes a day. You need to add something meaningful if you're going to stand out. And the other thing is offer to give help before asking for it. You want to adopt a what can I do for you rather than what can you do for me approach. I probably get asked 20 to 50 times a week, hey, I see you have a lot of followers on Twitter. Will you retweet my stuff? It totally turns me off. I don't know this person. We have no relationship. I will actually unfollow those people because that's not the kind of person I want to have a relationship with. Somebody that is asking me to do something for me or for them when I don't even know them. It's like saying, hi, how are you? Can you give me $5? You would not do that in person if you meet somebody. So you do not want to do that in the Twitterverse. Just because you can't see somebody doesn't mean that you shouldn't treat them any different than you would if they were in person. And so one of the complaints people have about Twitter is it goes so fast, it's really confusing how to keep track of people. And that's where list building comes in. I love list building for Twitter. So this is where it's really important to identify your goals. So maybe you want to get your work published in a big travel magazine. You maybe want to work with a specific tourism board, or build relationships with influencers in a community, or to connect with other bloggers. So you need to define what you want to do on Twitter, otherwise you're probably wasting your time. So once you've defined that, build a separate list for each of your goals. And you want to keep your list really small, especially for your important goals, because you want to interact frequently with a few strategically chosen people. So if you have 500 people on your list, you are not going to be able to have a really personal, intimate relationship with 500 people unless you're on Twitter all day long, which maybe then you would have time to, but I'm assuming you probably don't want to be on Twitter all day long, in which case it's better to interact with a few people. Because if you're only interacting with, a tourism board once a month, they're not going to remember you. If you interact with them a few times a week, then they're much more likely to remember who you are. So how do you find these people? So let's assume you want to find a travel editor. You want to get your name published in the big guys. How many people do you think on Twitter have travel editor in their bios, in their Twitter bio? So you can just put that in the chat box. Just take a guess.
Let's see. Waiting for responses. Can you probably ask that question again, Laurel? I don't have.
Sure. I'm wondering, how many people do you think have the word travel editor in their bio, in their Twitter bio? You can just put that in the chat box.
25%.
Okay, 25%. Any other? I'm looking for more of a number than a percentage. Just out of all the people in Twitter, how many people do you think have, say, travel editor?
Okay, waiting.
Okay.
2,000? 2,000?
That's okay. Maybe 2,000? Okay, that's actually a really good guess. It's actually, the last time I did this was 2,514 people.
Oh.
So this is why I like Manage Flitter for that, because all of a sudden you can follow up with everybody, or follow, depending how you want to do it, with these 2,514 travel editors on Twitter. What a quick way to do that. I mean, because if you were searching the web, you'd spend hours and hours doing that. Here you've done it in about 10 seconds. And then you can go through the list and maybe identify the top 10, 15, 20 that you think would be a really good fit. Because all of those wouldn't be a fit for you. But I think that's really, really helpful. So building strategic connections. And so you want to look, does the person you're trying to connect with, do they actually interact on Twitter? We all know those people. It's like a one-sided conversation. All they're doing is tweeting out their stuff. They're never interacting with somebody. And if they're not having interactions, it's probably not worth your time trying to interact with them. I think you can tell a lot about somebody. I personally love looking at analyzing people's Twitter feeds, because I think it says a lot about the person. And for me, I think it's just like a conversation should be a two-way conversation. Twitter should also be a two-way conversation. So if you see people just broadcasting, here's my stuff, here's my stuff, here's more of my stuff, oh, just in case you didn't see, here's my latest blog post, there's probably no point to you try to connect. They're not interested in forming relationships. And if you're one of those people that do that, please don't do that, because I really think that you're missing out on the power of building relationships with Twitter. And then look, how likely are they to retweet your stuff if that's your goal, to get retweeted by the big names? Look at the kind of stuff they're retweeting. How often do they retweet? Again, some people never retweet, some people retweet anything. And why would they be interested in you? So, for example, of course I can see why you're interested in Lonely Planet, but what do you have to offer them? And you think, okay, I'm a small blogger, I don't have anything to offer them. Of course you do. But you need to think strategically. Maybe you have amazing photography. Maybe you've been to a destination that not many people have, that they'd be really interested. So make it easy for them to interact with you and to retweet you. So in summary, to get the most out of Twitter, these are the 7 things you need to do. You want to define your goal, what you want to get out of being on Twitter. Have a pinned tweet if you don't already. Implement a Twitter card. Check what's working for you and just keep repeating that. And you'll start to see patterns and certain hashtags that work really well for you. Post more photos, so get rid of text-only tweets, if not altogether, almost altogether. And expand your hashtag repertoire. It's fine to use the word travel, but there's so many other great hashtags that are going to get you great results as well. So try and experiment with those so you can find out what those are. And then you want to use lists to strategically connect with people that are going to help you meet your goals. So if you do these 7 things, I think it will completely change your way of using Twitter. And that's it for the presentation side. So I would love to turn it back to you, over to you for questions.
Beautiful. While we so all the bloggers who have logged in, feel free to ask any question to Laurel in the question section. This is an amazing talk, Laurel. My social media team is actually listening to your conversation as well. 20 minutes punching and very strategic topic on which I'm sure that if I were a travel blogger, I was going to go through this and implement everything that I said. In a month or two, my followership engagement would significantly increase. So beautiful. Thank you for that.
Thank you for your kind words.
So there's one question from Thomas. On the use of
Okay.
photos, I noticed using 4 photos gets way more interaction than one. Any thoughts about that?
If it's working for you, absolutely great. I personally only usually use one or two, just because the more photos you have, the more it cuts into your text characters. But if it's working for you, absolutely. I mean, that's great. I don't have any statistics on that, but like I said, if it's working for you, keep doing it. And that's something really good for everybody else to think of experimenting with too. If 4 photos, it doesn't make a difference if you upload 4 photos compared to 1 photo. And if it does, then keep doing it.
Beautiful. Um,
Do you want me to show
Thomas,
my screen again? Sorry,
you can
or
close
just
it, Laurel. No problem.
okay.
You can close it. Okay, the next question we have is how important is time zone selection for tweets?
Incredibly important. So you really want to be, again, you can look into Twitter analytics, and which will also tell you when your followers are online. So you know where your followers are coming from, where the followers you want to target are coming from, and so you want to post when they're online. And again, that's what's really important to look at Twitter analytics, because that's really going to show you when you're getting the most engagement. So if you see you have an amazing tweet, an amazing photo, and it's like cricket silence, we've all had those tweets. You're like, come on, how come no one's interacting? This is an amazing picture. It could just be because nobody's seen it. And so I'm based in Europe, and my audience is half American, half European. And so I find for myself the best time is usually sometime between 4 p.m. European time to 9 p.m. And that way I'm getting both audiences. So the American audience is up, the Europeans are still up. Where if I do it like 9 o'clock European time, people are in Europe are busy at work, they're not seeing a tweet, and US, a lot of people are already sleeping.
Okay. Okay.
Really important.
And you would use tools like Hootsuite, right, for sending those messages in case if it's like the middle of the night for you. So you just
Yeah, Hootsuite works great. I'm a Buffer girl. I love Buffer.
buffer.
And the reason I love Buffer is because once you've installed it, and I have the subscription service, but it's free. You can install, so you can schedule up to 10 tweets at a time. So you can go through a blog, and I took this out of the presentation because I didn't have time to cover it, but this is a really great tip for bloggers. Is with Buffer, you right-click on a photo, and it will say Buffer this image, and then the image will show up automatically, and then you add whatever text you want to add, and then you can set it so Buffer will send it for you at the times they predetermined, or you can choose your own time. And then that's a really great way of doing that. So if you have 5 photos in a blog post, you can share that blog post 5 different times, but it doesn't look like it because you're using 5 different photos. Just change the text a little bit, and voila, you've just shared your blog post 5 times in, don't do it all the same day, do it over a couple of weeks, but then you're getting the most leverage out of your blog post as well. But yeah, I think Hootsuite now does it as well, so you can share images. I just personally like Buffer.
Okay. Awesome. Another question by Vicky. What is an average amount and a great amount of engagement per tweet, and what numbers, percentages around it?
So the average engagement for a tweet is about 1.1%, which is not very good. I consider any tweets that I have over 3%. That 3% is my personal goal, because again, that 1.1% includes a lot of tweets that are text-only tweets that aren't using hashtags or using too many tweets. So a personal goal and something good to strive for, I think, is 3%. And when I get 5 to 6%, I'm like doing a happy dance, because on Twitter, that's amazing.
I see. We can take more questions. I have one question for you, Laurel, while we wait for questions. Now, there's a feature called Favorite in Twitter account, and what exactly is that? How beneficial is it? How does it play into this Twitter strategy? Is there something you can talk about that?
Sure. I only personally use it if it's something I want to come back to. So when I favorite tweet, Some people will favorite every tweet. I don't know what you would do with that because there's no way to sort those. So if you have thousands and thousands of favorite tweets, I don't know what you're going to do with it. I personally only favorite tweet if it's something I want to come back to, just like as if it was bookmarking a web page.
I see.
So if somebody recommends an amazing hotel that I have to stay in India, then maybe I would bookmark that because I know I might want to do that. But in terms of a strategy, I don't see any strategy in doing that other than personally something you want to come back to.
Sometimes you do see how many people have favorited your tweet. So does that in any way like sort of make more people to either favorite it or retweet it maybe? Is there any...
Yeah, for sure. I think people like, we like to share things that are popular. So if a tweet has 50 retweets and 100 favorites, people are much more likely to, I need to retweet that or I need to check it out. Rather than if it has 0, then we're like, maybe that's not that good, even if it is. So you could definitely, you could favor your own tweets if you wanted to, but keep in mind, everyone's going to be able to see what you favorite. Okay. So if you favorite your own tweets, it's kind of like, it kind of looks a little bit strange.
That's right.
You can do it.
Yeah. How active
like
how active are you on Facebook, Laurel? I mean, is Facebook a completely different strategy? Sort of a side question.
Yeah. Yes and no. So Twitter, to be effective, the most you need to tweet 5 to 7 times a day for optimal engagement. That's what they found for Twitter. And for Facebook, 5 to 7 times a day, in my opinion, is way too many. So Facebook, it needs to be once to probably twice a day. Twice a day would be max. Maybe 3 times a day once in a while. But similar strategies in the fact that, most people are not going to see your Facebook posts or your tweets for that matter. So you need to be strategic when you're posting it. And same thing with photos. We talked about perform much better on Twitter. We perform much better on Facebook as well.
I see. And is it the how does a growing blogger measure his progress in his career? Is it a function of how many followers the person has, or how many, like, is it a cloud score? People talk about cloud score. What is there something at all?
I'm laughing because it's a loaded question. So I think followers are important, but it's not the only thing. What is most important for me is relevant followers. So if somebody is following me and has no interest in adventure travel, that it doesn't matter to me. I'd rather them not follow me in that case. So relevant followers is important. Also, really important is engagement. Are people actually interacting with you, and are you interacting with them? And I think as bloggers, it's very easy for us to be the broadcasters. But just because somebody isn't a blogger doesn't mean they don't have something really interesting to say. And so there's a guy from India. We've been interacting on Twitter for about 3 years. He's not a blogger, but he does motorcycle trips through the Himalayas. And I just think Vinay, I just think he's a really cool guy. I've never met him. But I think that those are the kind of connections that you can get through Twitter when you have interactions with real people and you take the time to develop those interactions. Rather than just being, as a blogger, the broadcaster, you say, I'm doing cool stuff, check me out. That's great, but other people are also doing really cool stuff as well. And that, I think, builds a real audience. And it's slow going. You're not going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of people that you have those conversations with. But that, I think, personally is the most rewarding and really the way to do it. And because other people that are seeing those conversations can tell that you're really genuine. I'm not just like, check me out because I'm awesome. I really care about what people are doing. And I want to see, this guy's motorcycle trips through the Himalayas because I just think it sounds amazing. Now we're actually friends on Facebook. I feel like I know him. We've never met just because of Twitter.
Yeah. So it's a good, if somebody follows you, it's probably a good idea to, follow them back if they are interesting. Am I correct?
So there's it's also an interesting question. Some bloggers are like, no, I'm only going to follow 200-300 people, and that's fine. My strategy is different. If you look interesting, so that you're tweeting interesting things, you're not just trying to sell me something, we have similar hobbies, you have nice pictures, I'm going to follow you back. And I don't care whether you're a blogger or not because I want to have an interaction. I don't think what I have to say is any more important than what anybody else has to say.
I see.
And I think if you're only following 300 people and you have 30,000 followers, you're sending the message that I'm really important. You're not. Kind of thing. And I like just to have interactions with everybody who has something interesting. If you want to talk about sharks, you want to talk about primates, you want to talk about mountains or hiking, great. Let's talk.
Awesome. Great advice. I learned a lot actually from this, and my guys are also listening to it. So I'm sure our Twitter strategy, which is what we are doing for the next 3 months, I'm sure we're gonna feedback all those lessons. I'm just wondering if anybody has any last questions to ask Laurel at this point. Just wait 10 seconds. Anybody wants to pop a question to Laurel? Last one. Okay, there's one. Any more tips about using buffer?
Yeah, so this is how I use Buffer. So every blog post that I have, so say if I have an average of 5 photos on a blog post, I will, as soon as the blog post is done, I will go through and schedule each of those photos using Buffer. But again, not all right in a row. I scheduled a few weeks, maybe over 3 weeks. 2 weeks, depends on the blog post. That's a really good way to do it. And then also, I keep a list of websites that I'm interested in following that I follow through. And when I see something interesting, then I'll schedule that in Buffer as well. And so my rule of thumb is I schedule usually 1 to 2 tweets a day from other sites that have interesting things. That's not just my content from those lists. I also use Twitter lists for that. And then I buffer that. So that's coming out at the ideal times because it looks really bad. You're not on Twitter all day and then you have 5 tweets in an hour. That's not doing anybody any favors. And so I like to schedule mine out between, so my most important tweets will go out between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m., but I will schedule other tweets throughout the day. But if I have like the most amazing blog post ever, I'm not going to schedule that at 9 o'clock in the morning because I know a lot of people aren't going to see it. So I'd say use it to schedule your most important tweets at your strategic times, and then your less important tweets, which to be honest, probably going to be somebody else's content, at other times.
Awesome. Well, that's great, Laurel, and I'm getting messages. Everybody is like thrilled listening to your talk. Awesome, wow, awesome tips, and thanks, Laurel. Is many messages that I'm getting. Thank you also from Trapezial side, Laurel. I think it was quite strategic and very valuable information from your side. We're gonna, we have recorded this video. We'll send out the link to you that you can share it with anybody, and all the other bloggers also can do that. We'll put it on our Twitter handle so that you can hear this recording again to make any notes if they have missed. Thanks a lot, Laurel. We'll keep in touch during the campaign. Probably one more talk from you. Something that is probably more exciting or as exciting as this would be nice. We can think about it.
I will try.
Yeah. All right.
And thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, you can just contact me on Twitter at Laurel_Robbins or by email if you come to my website, and I'm happy to answer any other questions too.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, Laurel. You have a great day.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.